So I've got 5:02. If Rosemary wants to start recording, we can start.
Recording in progress.
Perfect. All right, I got 5:02. We're going to call this meeting to order. Just give me 1 second. Just lost my train of thought here. Here, it's going to be down here in a minute. Just wait a minute. Okay, perfect. Okay, review of agendas, any adjustments, changes, or additions. I do have one addition of the, received a letter from the lineman crew, Chan, Jeff, and Nate, wants to be read into the minutes. Add that to the agenda.
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
I have a letter from Chan, Jeff, and Nate. They want to have the letter they want read into the minutes. Just got that today, so we'll add that onto the agenda. Does anybody have anything else they want to add? No. Linda?
Nope, I'm all good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, good.
Okay, so Rosemary, if you want to read minutes of the oath.
Want to raise your right hand?
Yep.
You solemnly swear affirm that you faithfully execute the office of village trustee for the village of Jennison and will therein to equal right and justice to all persons to the best of your ability upon the law, so help you God, or underneath the penalty of perjury.
I do.
I do. Yes.
Congratulations.
Sorry, Shane. Looks like we are going to go into executive session first. So I need a motion for executive session to interview a candidate for employment for village manager's position.
Where you want to do that up?
Thanks.
Recording stopped.
I need a motion to go into executive session.
I make a motion that we go. into
Recording in progress.
executive session to interview the village manager
Pursuant to,
pursuant to 1 VSA section 313A3.
and who will be present?
So
Yep.
Steve, Will, Ken, Linda, and Ned, and Rosemary.
Okay. Do I have a second on said motion?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of said motion signify with an aye. Aye.
Aye.
The aye, chair's aye, it's unanimous, and we'll have to drop BJ and who else is on there? All right, so we are out of executive session. We had a good talk with Ned about his experiences and some requirements that he would want to for future employment. And we're now moving on to election of the board chair. I'd like to nominate Kenny Tourangeau for chair. Seeing no seconds. Anybody else want to make a motion?
I make a motion that Steve be chair.
Do we have a second for that?
Second,
And yeah, any discussion about that? Seeing none, all those in favor of said motion signify with an aye.
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 Aye. Chair is nay. I'll do a roll call. Diane?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Kenny? And chair is nay, motion passes. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
And I have one thing to request from you. Is I'd like to read a letter. No, not that one. You're gonna read that one. If that's all right with you.
Yeah.
Okay,
You want to do this first?
I want to do this right now.
Okay.
Okay. So I rejoined the trustees at a time during the worst division I've ever seen in our town because I wanted to help. The stress inflicted on the board quickly led to the loss of the chair, Gloria Smith, followed shortly after by the former vice chair, Scott Myers. This left me being appointed chair with the board with a totally new board. Since that time, the members have learned a lot about the job they signed up for. They've agreed to disagree and move on to the next topic. I've seen votes made purely for the best interest of the taxpayers, and even though friends of theirs didn't understand why. Our meetings have gone from hours with very little progress to finishing on time. There will never be a time when this board isn't something big on the place of this board. So to think that there's a good time to step down because the job is done is foolish. I guess this is what I finally realized. There is no end until you say I'm done. I'm giving up my position as the village trustee as a reading of this April 11th, 2022. I'd like to think that I made a difference, that I helped. I'll pray for the success of those that leave on the board and those that will follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Will, for your service.
Good luck, Steve.
Thank you. I guess we need to have nominations for the vice chair.
Where are my glasses? I'll nominate Ken for
No.
vice chair.
Is there any other nomination? Do we have to have this position filled? We probably need to ask for volunteers to candidates who are interested in filling Will's seat, correct? Okay, we need to review the minutes of the trustee meetings. The meeting on March 14th, 2022. Is there a motion to accept the minutes for that meeting?
So moved.
I think I have some stuff to be read into the minutes of that, or is it this minutes? Well, from Nate, Jan, and them. Yeah, I guess we'll go in this minute. So I'd motion we approve the minutes for meetings March 14th, special trustee meeting March 9th, March 25th, March 30th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, chair's aye. Did you vote, Ken?
I said aye.
Aye.
I made the motion.
So it's unanimous. Next item on the agenda is appointment of water and light commissioner. Do you have the job description?
Yeah, so this is in the Village of Johnson bylaws, and I'm going to read the description. Do you want me to?
Sure.
Okay. The Water and Light Commissioner shall confer with and take directives from the Board of Trustees. That person shall meet monthly with the trustees for conference purposes. That person shall have supervision of the operation, maintenance, and construction of the water and electric lines, and shall also act as supervisor of the general department of the village in the operation, maintenance and construction of sidewalks, sewers, and such other projects as are undertaken in the village general department, either through directives of village meetings or authorization of its board of trustees. Is that correct, Rosemary?
That's what it says in the,
Yeah. It was pretty hard to read some of those notes, so this is what I found to be most, okay.
four Meredith Kate. That's a less than, Meredith and George from, for that at all and at work.
So I
one-
think we need time to find some people that would be willing to do it and talk to them before we can appoint somebody. So I would move that we table this. I mean, essentially, it's an interim position because once we hire a new village manager, that person would do that, the new village manager would assume that responsibility, correct? So I'm gonna move that we table this. Do we need to have a vote on that? Mark? Okay. The treasurer's report.
Okay. I think you should have a budget status report. Budget figures for the general department. For 16% spent. So,
I'm having trouble hearing it from here, sorry.
last month, the people with loans that want to go on the electric bills.
Uh-huh.
Maryland has done the two-paper explaining what our wants to be to.
Okay.
No, looking forward to review that. Talked with the Morrisville today. And they're waiting. They want to do it.
Okay.
Major billing programming changes.
Did you check the software? Because I think,
The software, yeah.
and isn't, I don't know which one it is. Somebody, they are going to reimburse for office
They just
expenses.
part of that. If you get thousands of dollars, I don't know if they're gonna. Customers may want to do it.
Oh, okay. So we'll get to decide once we know all that information, correct?
The one that's a loan billing processes, that's when get studied that.
Okay.
That's a little tricky, or what their requirements are.
And do you have items that we need to sign? Well,
Yes, they're downstairs.
You can do it after.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Golden Border is not able to come to the meetings he's not, he's on airplane. And his application and his email explain.
I saw it here. It looks like he's planning to be open almost every day from 8 AM to 2 PM. We're gonna charge the same rate as last year, the day, correct?
Well,
That's
that's
something
nothing
for us.
That's later on.
Won't change it.
I think that's,
Well,
that's what he paid last year.
Yes.
It's $10. And that's $300 a month.
Well, that day here, he's open.
Sorry?
The days that he's actually open.
Oh, was he
Right.
not open 7 days a week? So do we know how many? This is doesn't matter.
I'm sorry, I jumped over. Do we need to have a motion to approve the treasurer's report? No.
He'd like to bring his truck by the end of this week.
And he has to provide us with a certificate of insurance.
I
Do we
have that.
Okay.
So far, no other trucks have asked me to.
Well, do we have a motion, or is there any more discussion on front seat coffee?
Yep, so what, anybody know what he was open for days last week or last year?
I
Like
was
3
under
days,
the
right?
assumption he was open
He
7,
was
but
only
I
open
guess not.
like-
Pardon?
It might have been Thursday, but I thought it was only Friday, Saturday and Sunday.
That's when the other mud juice was open.
That's when much easier to open.
I don't know.
I think he was open every day,
Okay,
every
so-
morning.
So my thoughts on it is that if you want to open a business in this town, you're gonna pay a lot more than $300 a month. Last year, they told us that it took more to keep it cleaned up around the area with the crew, work crew. They were requesting portalettes, a lot of other stuff. So I feel that $10 a day is way too cheap for anybody to be taking up a public space. So I think we ought to bump it up to 15 a day. And I think it ought to be not just for the days that they're open. Because if that's the case, then you know what I mean? I know a lot of people like to go park their job trailer down there and get a lot of free advertisement for the days that. That's kind of really unfair to actual businesses that wanna say, move into the old plumbing main building. You know, and start their own coffee shops or whatnot. Now, I'm not against them being there. I'm just saying that I think it's a little too cheap, you know, in this day and age. Especially I was getting like a $7 coffee.
Yeah, I don't know how much they charge.
Well,
But I think that,
So if you went $15 a day and we just estimate it 30 days, that's $450 a month. And he's in there for approximately 3 months. Is that what it was?
pretty,
You know, so
um,
you're talking $1,350 a year. So if you were to have that building out there on Main Street and you were to put a coffee shop out there, what do you think the village taxes would be? Can you town tax?
no, it would be really nice if people did brick and mortar, but since we don't have that, I think it's really important to have the truck there. I think it provides a really good service. people really went there quite a bit.
I'm not saying it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm just
So,
saying that $10
let me
a day is
finish,
really
and then-
cheap.
And then, so I think like $10 was, I wouldn't mind leaving it at 10, but I really don't want to do 15. I would do like 12, do a compromise kind of thing. And I think that would,
But it should be every day that they're there, not just
well,
that they're open. What you think?
let's find out if he's going to be there every day. And Rosemary, you don't have how many days he was there last year? Well, let's find that out, okay?
Did he only pay for the days he was there?
The days that he was open.
Real, that's all he paid for? So my feeling is he should pay for every day because he's still taking up that space. You know, I think it should be, I don't think it should be 15 a day, but I could go with the 12, but I do think it should be he should be charged monthly, not by the day, because I just don't think it's right. It's kind of like when you rent an apartment, they go on vacation, you don't delete that 2 weeks that they were gone. He's still in that space that nobody else can use.
Well,
Yeah, I just want to point out to the chair that you can't have a policy for this and a policy for others. So if you're gonna make a policy, it can't be determined upon how many days he was there. Because it's gonna be a policy, it should be a policy straight across the board, so. It should, the relevancy of how many days a week he was there should.
I don't remember discussing that last year. I
No,
know,
we did,
yeah,
new board, new
so,
setup, so it's, definitely got a year to work out the kinks.
Athena,
So again, our
Coffee cart was open every day.
it was?
Yes.
you mean front seat? Okay, I thought it was.
I haven't looked at the application, but does the application already say this much per day? Are those guidelines laid out, or is it general?
I don't have that
The one
contract.
that's online,
Isn't it?
it says, looking for food truck vendors, $10 a day, the village vendor. These are actual number of days, not the week. So Tobin's knowing by what's out there, what we apply for. Maybe for next year, you can change it, but this year, that's what he was.
we haven't accepted his application yet, so.
Yeah, but he's just working under the assumption that $10 a day.
No, he's under the assumption that it is by the application that he filled out. So when we assign a new application that says 15 or 12, then that's the one he'll have to fill out. So I think that it would be fair with the foreman coming to us last year telling us that they put exponential more labor into that area, that we need to recuperate a little bit, $10 a day. If that's the case, then, they're not going to pay for the days that they're not open for any of them. I'm not saying that he was open all the days. I'd like to park my job trailer down there for free advertisement and not pay nothing. So, and I'm a resident and that wouldn't fly. So I think that we just really need to consider that it's taking up community space that was designed for the community. So if somebody's there making money off that space, they could pay a little bit more than $10 a day.
I'm willing to go up a little bit.
Who is it that empties the trash cans and takes care of the tables and that stuff? It was always clean when I was there, and I was there fairly often. And it looked like it was pretty well kept up just by the patrons.
The village crew does that, Linda.
They clean up, they do what? They pick up. Well, why don't they take care of their own trash cans?
Because it's a village space. So
My understanding was that the Mudgies was making the most mess, because I don't really know, but.
I think there were complaints.
You work right there every day, so you.
Yeah. It was the muddy side that the animals were getting into trash that was left, that space was very messy and unsanitary at times, for sure. The coffee cart always was very contained, and they did bring their own trash cans
as well. So there was, of course, what's on the sidewalk, but also their own methods.
Scott?
So when this originally came up, vending carts at Village Green, there was a general understanding with previous trustees that the need was being met by letting them use Village Green because we didn't have the services, especially with the rail trail. It was always sort of understood that when businesses did come into town, I think Greg Tatro was trying to open up a place for coffee. He owns the building, he pays taxes, he pays water and sewer for that service. I'm not sure about the status of home name, but it's set up as a restaurant. My understanding as a trustee was, as soon as that happened, business use of Village Green carts. We felt it was unfair business owners who actually own the rented space that would be an unfair advantage. So doing your due diligence as the new trustees, I think $15 an hour or $15 a day is totally
Is part of what?
is achievable. Program. And having reached out as the new trustees, have Lori to get their feedback as a building and trying to sell that building. When they have food carts across the street, they're trying to sell the building. It may turn people off. Has anybody reached out to Greg Tatro to see how he feels? Because he is trying to start something up in the Hill House. And with the sort of blank looks I'm getting, I feel like maybe not. So,
I will reach out to him.
I'll just say that the cafe is still pretty much, the guided to this says they just insulated it, so there's still months away from that.
Looks like it.
Operating, and that the plumbing has sold the restaurant as well, but it's far off from that as well.
So we can consider this on a year by year or basis. And for this season, I think it would be nice to have them there.
Again, I brought it up not to pick on anybody.
No,
I remember Troy's conversation about how much time they were getting involved into it with them, not saying it's the coffee shop or movies or whatever it is.
We can,
But I feel that, as Scott was saying, that it's really detrimental to somebody that wants to run a business brick and mortar here, that they're being undermined by the village trustees to give somebody an unfair advantage who isn't even a resident of the town or village. So for that matter.
there is, it's kind of hard to compare a little tiny thing like front door and of the store that's selling more stuff.
Absolutely. But at the same time, like I said, I'm sure any of them would like $10 a day taxes while they're open.
Is there a motion then to,
So I would motion that we bump the rate up to $15 a day for every day that the vehicles are there, not open.
so every day?
Every day that it's there, correct. So if they pull it out and it's not there for 4 days a week, then that's their prerogative.
Is there a second to that motion? In the second, the motion dies. Is there another, do you want to make another motion?
No, I'll let you guys face it.
Well, I'd like to make an amendment to that motion, and everything is the same.
You can't make an amendment, it's dead.
So
Make a
do
new one.
another, okay, I'll make a new one. And I make a motion to have Tobin Brown and Front Seat Coffee rent that space for $12.50 a day. And he has to pay for the whole week or the whole month. And he has to take care of his garbage. That's my motion.
Is there a second to Diane's motion?
I'll second that.
Linda? Is there any discussion on this new motion?
So I have a question. So if we do that with, I have no idea whether Mudgee's is coming back or not, or whether they're thinking about it, or any other food truck. Will it be so that any food truck that comes in there is responsible for their space and their own trash? I mean, in the future, it's something to think about. I sort of feel like it's their space, their trash can, their garbage. They need to take care of their own stuff. And there should still be a village, because it is an open village space with all those picnic tables. Who knows? Maybe they'll use both, but I still think they should be responsible for their own cleanup.
That's part of the requirements, is the trash removal.
What's that?
Part of the requirement is trash removal.
Oh, yeah.
Done.
I take exception to the motion. Motion should be made to amend the policy, not in particular.
Amend it to what? I can't hear you.
So the motion should be made to the policy change, not the specific renter.
Oh,
Yeah. So what I should have said is a rental truck.
Change the policy. You have a policy for the green food cards. So if you're going to change something, it should be made to the policy and then resubmit it to
See,
with the changes. See if he still wants to participate.
Did Mudgee's pay the same daily rate? Do they pay, because they were a bigger space, do they pay more? They both paid the same last year?
So do we have a motion to change the policy that, like Will was talking about?
You have a motion and a second on the floor, so you gotta deal with that.
All right, so is there a second to that motion? Diane's motion. That's it.
I seconded.
More discussion on that motion.
Well, someone could now make a motion to place withdraw, or someone could make a motion to amend the motion that's on the table.
I withdraw the motion just made.
Withdraw your second from that.
I don't know if she heard you. Linda?
Okay, I can't hear you very well, Rosemary.
You want to withdraw your second?
I'll withdraw my second.
Is there a new motion to amend the policy?
I'll make a motion to amend the policy for front seat, no, for any food
No.
truck. Help me, please.
Village Green food truck policy.
The Village Green food truck policy to state that the rental for each day is $12.50, and they must pick out their own garbage,
And and they have to pay it every day.
and they have to pay every day.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that motion?
I think it ought to be 15, not 12.50. You know, I mean, you're throwing pennies around the table, $2.50. At the cost to what we pay to maintain that area. As Scott said, it was previously talked about to eliminate this when there's a chance for business to open.
Well, we'd be maintaining that area anyway, no matter what. And there would be cyclists and other people there using, we'd be maintaining it.
I'm
no
not
matter.
sure how much economic development that cyclists bring to this town.
No, I'm saying, but they put the garbage in and they use last summer it was pretty busy. But I think that we'd be maintaining it no matter what. Anyway, and this way, at least they're taking out their own garbage.
And I don't know if you heard me, but the foreman come in and said it took extra time every week beyond normal since the carts have been there. So we're trying to recoup a little money. So by doing it as $2.50, you're gonna have to charge, hopefully they stay there for 10 years to pay for 1 year of the added increase of what it's costing us to take care of the place. So in reality, it's just, don't nickel and dime it. You know,
Well, our understanding was that it was mainly the other booth that had all that trash, and that
that could very
Front
well
Seat Coffee
be.
has been
But
really
at the
neat.
same time, there was coffee cups and trash also. So I'm just saying, you can't blame one and not the other. They're on the village green. So if one's paying that much, the other should too. And it should be more than $12.50 a day. I can't park on the street of Burlington for $12.50 a day. Well,
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
you've got to
kidding.
look at it as a whole month too.
Shane,
I think that there's, a lot of reasons to increase the fee. I don't know whether there's a reason for $12.50 or even for $15. These numbers seem kind of arbitrary to me. And I think if we're going to set a new number, it would probably be smart for the board to look at what the value of that space actually is and set a rate according to that. When we talk about brick and mortar space in town and the added cost that is involved with someone buying one of these businesses or buying one of these buildings, fixing it up, getting it to the point where a business can go in there, that's a lot of money that they're investing into that and into our town. And I don't think that people who are, putting a truck on the green should be denied access to an opportunity to build a business. But I think if we're going to have those kind of fixed costs in place for certain people who want to start a business in our town, it's a little bit unfair to remove those fixed costs for other people. So I don't have a number to give you today. Sorry about that, but I think it would behoove the board to do a little bit of research and figure out what a good number would actually be rather than just kind of throwing out numbers off the top of your head.
thank you. Scott?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out a little bit of caution on some of the conversation. We went to putting a price and issues of garbage and uncleanliness with two different food carts. And you just are trying to move through the 1250 policy. Policy is name specific. And this is what I'm now hearing. I'm hearing that the food cart was laying on the coffee cart. You got names involved there on policy, which is, in my view, totally incorrect. Because you could have another vendor who's a complete slob and still only pay $12.50 an hour. Have another vendor next to them who actually goes down and puts flowers and keeps the place super clean. Still $12.50. So the policy should be name specific and who generates what, who's a slob, who's not, right? So I wish the conversation would move away from who does what, and it's a policy set for cost, the time incurred by our village crew, who's paid for by the village taxpayers. And I still want to throw out, brick and mortar. It's super important, and I've had a few people approach me because, it was during my tenure with the village that I allowed this to happen, and it was an unfair practice, and I talked to Keith for it. There's also a need, and I think that's why I'm going to repeat this again, that it would be revisited when we had business opening up on Main Street, so it wouldn't be unfair.
Diane?
So I think it would be really good for us to look at what other towns are charging for food trucks in their town. And I think you said that we would be talking to Tetro and the new people that are buying Plum and Main. and we'll do that research. And that will help us. But in the meantime, I think Tobin is looking to put up his food truck next week, which is the 18th. So I am sorry, I am bad at making motions, but I can change that motion to not have Tobin's name be on it.
It doesn't.
Okay, so that's good. So I think we will do that homework to find out what other food trucks are charging and that have restaurants in their village. And we'll talk to Tetro and Plum and Main, the new owners.
Downtown pizza. as
Sure,
well,
sure.
And Sterling Market, because they have a deli and even the gas station. Because they also have food in the deli
I will add,
and movies.
So I did look around, and I think there's only one food cart in Cambridge on town or village property. All the rest are on private property. So that's totally irrelevant to how you're trying to put it out there on that part. So unless that cart's back down to Jeff, and I don't even know if it gets charged when it's at the fire station or not. It could be fire department related for all I know.
yeah, so.
But that's the only one that I've called Morrisville, they don't do it. My Park don't do it. Stowe don't do it. When you got a cart in Stowe, we're paying about $2,800 a day to be at one of their grounds. So I'm back to my first statement on it. It's not about making money for the village. It's about making back the money it's costing us to keep it clean. So doesn't matter who's there. It's going to cost us more money.
Well,
So I would make a request to the board to also consider as part of the policy that there isn't that whoever food cart comes now or in the future, there's no competition with brick and mortar. That would solve a lot of the issue that the original agreement set up with the previous board's intent was not to conflict with brick and mortar. So if you, I mean, like right now, Greg's coffee shop isn't up and running, so there's no issue there. But let's say next year, we're not competing with taxpayers. And you can make that real simple. If someone goes to apply for the position, realize that they're in conflict with a brick and mortar store, just make that part of the policy. That would just be a suggestion on that.
that's a good suggestion. Any
I
other
think it's-
discussion on this? So we
Yeah,
still
I would
have-
like to say, I think the food trucks are important over there and competition. There's nothing wrong with competition. And I think that we need to actually, I really think those food trucks have done a lot for the village. And even if Greg does open up, it'll be serving different types of people and people coming through. I would love to see Front Seat back there. They were very busy last summer. They did a good job. You never had any complaints about them. Anyway, and yeah, I think that the policy needs to be adjusted to cover whatever food truck goes in there. And that they do need to pay every day because they're taking up that space. And we'll see what happens when they're picking up their own trash, because maybe the village crew won't be in there so much. They're still, I'm assuming they're the ones that mow. They mow that field, that lawn.
So yes, we pay for it.
So we still have a motion on the floor, correct? To amend the policy. And without a specific fee per day, correct?
No,
Oh, it's gonna be in the policy. So we're still discussing how much that fee is gonna be.
No, she stated.
I did state it, yeah.
12.
So let me just ask this question. If it's $12.50, then we'd have to change the fee for next year in that policy? I know, but that's policy for years down the road, correct? Or
Until it's changed.
until it's changed. So we can change the amount each year if we want, correct?
Okay,
I believe that was the understanding that was expressed last year when Tobin, when we were having these conversations. Someone else can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the conversation was that future years might have increased fees. And I believe Tobin was okay with that, so.
All right. Call the question and have a, so we have a second on that motion. We have Linda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Can you hear us, Linda?
Yep, did you hear me? I said aye.
Oh, I did not hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Chair votes aye. So motion passes. Do we need to do a roll call? Okay,
Yes.
okay. Linda,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
Kenny,
Nay.
chair votes aye, the motion passes, 3 to 1, sorry. All right, the next item on the agenda is Alex Nader. He's Alex? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. Good evening, everybody. As you know, I've got bought that land neighboring the village green, and Meredith did some fine dandy legwork on the Perlman land, which that easement goes through, and the village green, and she got back to me in February of 2021, and nothing's been done yet. And I own the land now, and the right of way is on the easterly side of your lot, village lot, and it's got to be changed to the west. And your attorney's done all the work, but there hasn't been any further work done on it. Okay, I was just wondering when your time frame is to get at it.
I could not get hardly any of that.
Yeah, you're
Alex.
really.
So he has a right of way on the left side of the village green
Okay.
where the wall and the art is. And
Right,
we
I
built the
understand that.
wall and art in his way, and he wants us to switch it to the right side of the green so he can have a right of way. Or he wants you to tear down the wall and the art so he can have his right of way back.
Do you have a proposal for a measurements of where the new one would be?
Gordy Smith met with me, if you can hear me, and I think Perlman met too. The Perlmans met with us. This was 2 years ago. The way time flies. And they've got the paperwork all drawn up. You guys have it there somewheres. And nothing's been done on it. And I just want to get the right of way changed from the east side to the west side of your lot.
Well, I think if you could give us a sketch with measurements, we could show it to our attorney, and it would probably get approved.
Well, your attorney has already drawn up the new deed easement, okay? For that purpose.
Okay.
And that is going to have to be just switch from the east side to the west side.
So Alex, what are you going, how come you want to switch it? Can I just ask?
Right away.
It's a right of way.
Right of way?
It's a right of way to the lot I just bought from Chan Parker. It's a 2-acre lot down on the bank from me. And I border the village green. And there's a 12-foot right of way. It's going to be on the westerly side now, because the previous manager put blocks in the way, okay? For that brick wall, block wall.
Yeah,
And it was never thought of, I guess, when they put the blocks there. And I can move the box. I can do it tomorrow. But you guys have got money into this already for attorneys. I just want it in writing. You know, signed, sealed, and delivered. You guys got the paperwork.
Okay.
It's not gonna happen overnight, I'm sure, but sooner the better. I gotta expedite it. Like I say, this stuff was drawn up in February of 2021.
Right, I remember.
Yeah. And I just was wondering why it was at a stalemate, that's all.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I know there's.
Jennison wants to make a comment, Alex, and then we'll.
Yeah, Alex, it's a little hard to hear you, Alex, so I'm just gonna try to clarify for Diane, if that's all right.
I think
So-
for
For
a lot of them.
Okay, all right, so basically, we illegally put in the blocks where the artwork currently is. That's his right of way, and he could come down tomorrow and remove that. I mean, so he's gone out of his way to, again, do things for the village that he doesn't have to do, but he's agreed to take the right of way out of the other side, and leave the instruction we had put in. Always asking for the board's motion to sign the agreement, but right away. And that have access to land.
I'm fine with that.
I'll motion that we sign right away change from the east to the west side of the village green for the NATO family. And let's do it expeditiously.
Is there a second?
I will second it, but I have questions.
All right, so is there discussion?
So this has already been, it's already been set in stone by a previous trustee board, right? Now it's just getting it settled, just signing off on it. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah, do we really have a choice?
No, you have a choice that he's gonna go in there tomorrow and rip
No,
the
I mean,
art and
no.
stuff
No, it's the
down.
right thing to do.
Well, so we're just having a discussion, and Alex, I don't want you to get upset, but I guess I kind of want to keep the village green like a nice area and stuff, and yeah, that's a concern, but if we have no choice,
We don't, he has a right away.
then
Yeah.
we're gonna just have to do it.
He's trying to be nice to not tear down the art and the wall
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
and giving us the option to move it to the west side, which is, we should be jumping on it if you want to keep the art in the wall.
So the west side would mean behind the art store, right?
Correct. Is there any
And
more
so there would be a
discussion?
driveway there?
There is now. Just gonna be using the west side, this west side that drives by Kyle's business out through to access his property.
I don't own the building.
I didn't
so-
say, I just said where your business is.
I know, but you're looking at me like I have anything to.
No.
Yeah, it's
I'm
not there,
He has
yeah.
right of way.
It's the Perlman house. But this agreement was already decided quite some time ago, right? It's just getting it finished.
That's pretty much what's going on.
Yeah,
We have
so
a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Motion passes unanimously.
I will amend my motion to authorize the chair to sign that. Can that happen, or is that gotta be redone?
I think you could just make a second motion then.
All right. I will make a motion to allow chair to sign for the right of way to be swapped to the west side.
Is there a second to Kenny's motion?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay, yeah, thank you, everybody, and Linda, welcome to the board.
You.
I would like a map of that changeover, because the old map's going to say east side. And I want it to refer to being the west side from now on.
That would be
Isn't there a
helpful.
survey?
Didn't Maris have that going? I can't remember, but I thought she said she pretty much had it all set and it was just lost when we got lost.
Want to give permission for me to contact her?
I would say we,
Sure, that would be the easiest thing. And then just put a copy in the
do
file.
we need a motion or just consensus?
Somehow it involves George Foreman too.
Who?
George Foreman owns it.
He owns it.
Yeah, I've got two deeds. One's Perlman's, or Andrea Perlman, and the other is the Village of Johnson. Both of them have to be signed.
Right. Okay.
I just got copies, and that's all I have. It's nothing certified.
All right.
I think that's it for me. Thank you very much, and you guys have a great evening.
Thanks, Alex.
Yep. Night.
Bye.
Dan, I guess you're up.
On the wastewater side, the EDMR and WR43 were submitted to the state. We continued COVID testing for our influent. This series ends this week, and it's uncertain when we'll start again, probably within a month or so. And then the next series is going to be 9 months long that we're going to test for. The auto sampler has been shipped. That's part of this program at no cost to the village, so we should be receiving that shortly. We've removed rust and repainted all of the pipes in the sludge valve room. That's the room that usually floods during the flood, so it needed it. We had a leaking backflow preventer. Laramie Water Resources serviced it with a rebuild kit and certified it. We serviced all of our sludge pumps and the air compressor. We finished replacing the rubber squeegees on the wash boxes for the belt press. During our last press run, the speed control knob malfunctioned. This controls the speeds of the belt. We're able to finish the run and are sourcing a replacement before our next run, hopefully. We're having a little difficulty finding one, but we removed a 4-inch check valve that was leaking in the sludge room. After taking it apart, we found that it was just 2 O-rings that had worn out. We replaced them, and it seems to have fixed it. Knowing how the check valve worked, we serviced 2 8-inch check valves that were both leaking down in the influent dry well room. Those O-rings also were just beyond their useful life. We repaired them, and they are now working properly with no leaks. So we started to clean the floors and the walls that have been wet down there for years. Can't even down there and see. So it's all dry down there now. So it's
Can't imagine.
yeah. We assisted the village on Railroad Street with what was thought to be a plugged sewer line and a manhole. It turned out to be filled with runoff in an abandoned line. So it was just water runoff. When Hardigan cleaned the grit channels, we had them sucking cumulative grease from the pre-act zones up to the SBRs. We do that a couple times a year. I will start ordering belt press parts after we get the rep to visit the plant to verify the correct parts are to be ordered. So that'll be for the rehab of the belt press. We just want to double check everything before we order $10,000 worth of parts.
Yeah, well, it's still a bargain from replacing it.
Yeah, for sure. On the water slide, the telephone samples were negative. We sampled native well for nitrates, volatile organic compounds, inorganic chemicals, and metals. All results were well below the state of Vermont's limits. The village crew notified us of low water pressure at Katy Wind. They found it was a failed pressure switch, had Menage replace it. The backup pump was very noisy when they switched to it, and Troy had Menage order a replacement that thinks to be installed tomorrow. We're verifying the price on the spare well pump, and we'll get that ordered as soon as we know. Menage did say that they believe there's going to be an increase in price on that. Hopefully not very much, because that's February that I got that quote. So
What was 20 or 25?
25,000, yeah. So I mean, it's within $1,000 or so. If it's anything more than that, obviously I'll have to come back and, talk to you guys about it, but I'll probably try to do that over email or something at that point, because the longer we wait, the more expensive it's gonna get too. So, water loss was 13%, which is good. And you all received a copy of the preliminary engineering report for the Katie Wind pump station. Will had mentioned that I think probably we're gonna have to have a separate meeting to deal with that. I contacted Alex Ferguson from the state of Vermont. He's the one that did the original sanitary survey up there and noted the deficiencies. I'm gonna meet with him and see also if there's some medium ground we can meet. Rehabbing it as soon as you start moving a pump, the state gets involved, and that's what drove the cost up so much. So there may be a way around that and that a bit so that we can meet still the requirements for the sanitary survey, but not end up going whole new. So, and hopefully I'll have that information for whenever we decide to meet on that.
So water loss stabilized because then meters for having it.
No, I just, water loss is funny. I mean, it varies.
We're pushing 20%.
Yeah, we're up to 20. Anything under 20% is considered good. If you get over 20%, that's when you start. And if you have 1 month that's over 20, and you want some consistent one. We've been 20 or under for more than a year now. So the system's been tight.
And would you refresh my memory on the Katie when there's 2 pump stations,
There's
correct? Three. And one you were able to.
One we rehabbed, and it actually had a concrete floor that was under a foot of silt. So we cleaned that out, got that all done, rehabbed the building, put a new roof on it. We did about $300 worth of materials. So that one's in good shape now, and we replaced the pressure tank that was failed in there. The main one has got an old pump in there, old pressure tank that's not used. There's 2 pumps and 15 or so meters in that house. Dirt floor, rotting.
Needs the whole
rotting
9 yards,
building,
right?
yeah, rotting
Building
building. Then the third one is newer. It's got 3 big pressure tanks and 2 pumps in that one. That has a dirt floor. That also needs to have a concrete floor with a floor drain.
Can you pour that concrete floor without? Do you have to take
Yes and
things
no.
out?
There's a little more to it because you also have to sleeve every one of those meter lines. So if you ever have to replace them, you don't have to go through a concrete floor. So, but that's something that I think we can do, so to speak, on our own,
So there's the one that's the biggie that we may have to get a bond for, or?
Right, that would be the one that if it ends up, we have to do that, and then the state considers it that, you've got to then meet minimum pressure requirements that right now we don't meet, but we're grandfathered in, which we haven't ever had any complaints up there for low water unless something malfunctions. So what's there works. So I'm gonna look at, can we pour the floor, do the drain, even build a new building around it, and get away from requirements for upgrading it, which would drive the price down considerably.
Is that something realistically that could be done this building season? Or are we planning for
This
2023?
project, I think in the report, she said the plans were this fall to go to
Earliest one,
be a bond and then start construction in the spring. So yeah, you guys can take up, whether you want to try to do that another meeting or what.
Yeah.
Go over that and.
It's gonna have to be its own.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 options in there. They're
6
pretty
to 7
in depth and, and hopefully,
And they're all-
hopefully I'll have a 4th option for you by then.
And they're all expensive.
Very, I had sticker shock.
Is there any more questions for Dan or?
Just a suggestion, while Dan's here, I think respect for Dan, we were having a special meeting, it's scheduled to have a meeting about the,
I don't know if you want to set a date. I would suggest giving me at least a week. I've emailed him and I haven't heard back, so I'm gonna call him and see, but so I can set up a meeting with Alex and Andrew, sorry, it's Andrew Ferguson.
What do you want to look at? May, June?
Oh, no, I was thinking the last week in April or the first week in May.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the sooner we get our heads around this, the better.
Okay.
And then if we get a direction to go, if we decide that we need something we can rehab, then we can go in and get closer pricing of what it would cost.
what's good for you?
Doesn't matter, as long as it's after 6.
How about you?
I think I'm okay those 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, you name your day, Dan.
Let's, I mean, Monday, the 2nd,
Monday the 2nd?
that work, that gives me 2 weeks, so that should be enough time to, you know, hopefully get
And
it.
if it's
May 2nd, sorry, yes.
We'll do it Tuesday.
Yeah, I was gonna say the 3rd would work fine too.
And if you just don't hear back from the other guy, you get a hold of us, we'll just push it off, we'll grab it.
Yeah, I'll let you know. If I don't have anything else. Yeah, I'm good with May 3rd if that works for everybody.
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
At 6 o'clock. Thank you, Dan.
All righty, thank you. I don't think there's anything else on here that I need to stay for. So, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Night.
So, for the electric department report, is Troy on Zoom? Pardon?
Report was emailed.
I don't know.
I'm gonna read it, Steve.
Looks like that.
So electrical department, they installed a new 600 amp secondary service. Was complete at the studio center. New 200 amp service was installed at Four Corners Greenhouse on Route 15. March 23rd, we indicated outage on Route 15 West, Waterman's Blueberry Farm to the end of our service territory to repair broken primary neutral. Repairs were made, power was restored within an hour. There was a call out for reported no power at 198 KDWN, turned out to be a customer's breaker. Crew installed new 200 amp overhead service, 17 Bouchard Way. Crew also had been working on the in-house right-of-way cutting. Crew has been completing monthly meter and high-low voltage substation checks and dig safes. Water and sewer, the pressure switch to main pump. I think he did that, didn't he? Failed, switch was replaced. Time of the failure was diagnosed. Crew also found backup pump that would supply the part. It's also begun to fail. It was determined that it was necessary to replace backup pump. The pump's been installed this time. The system is functioning normally. The repaired water meter at 184 Sinclair Road, and also repaired frozen water meter at 118 KDWN and restored the water service. General department, all equipment for spring cleaning was checked over and serviced. Crew worked down, installing cold patch in multiple locations on village streets. Street maintenance is a town function, but the town needed village assistance in order to have enough staff to complete the work. Crew worked with some group engineer to identify location of manholes, sewer lines of a View Drive to the laundromat. As part of the Railroad Street Stormwater Project. All winter equipment was cleaned and put in storage. Winter banners were taken down, spring banners were hung up. Paul completed his first aid, CPR, AED training, and full top bucket rescue certification. Administration, Joy's been working with Bill Chesborough related to the new building lot he is developing on Route 100C, where he will make both water and sewer connections as well as a new 100 amp service to feed a new house on that property. He will assist him with completing his water and sewer permit applications. He has been working with a customer who is interested in installing a new 1,500-foot primary underground line extension to feed his property at 335 Paw Road. Created an estimate for 200 amp overhead service at 17 Bouchard Way. Created an estimate for 200 amp overhead service at 823 Route 15 West. Created an estimate for a new 600 amp service overhead service at 38 Lower Main West. He's been working with Will County mental health engineer to determine the water flow needs for the sprinkler system at 599 Lower Main West. Also upgrading overhead electric service at 140 Route 100C. Reviewed garage engineer's phase 1 report, arranged for his attendance at the April trustee meeting. Answer any questions trustees may have. Spoke with tree removal service, Alexander Tree Service, to see if they would assist us with our right-of-way maintenance. I requested and received proof of the certification of insurance. The contractor we have used in the past is not available currently due to staff shortage. So I've been trying to find someone else, and the agenda includes a request to approve and hire Alexander Tree Service.
Thanks. I'll read the fire department report. Let's see one. Johnson Fire Department, February 24th to March 31st, calls. Johnson Fire Department responded to 7 calls. 6 calls occurred during the daytime. 1 call occurred during the nighttime. The average duration was 142 minutes. The nature of the calls. Those calls were 2 structure fires, 1 chimney fire, 1 wilderness rescue, 1 agency assist forcible entry, and 2 mutual aid structure fires. Staff, the average number of firefighters that responded was 12. Total hours of service is 229. Other additional repairs have been completed on the boilers, power, exhaust, vent. We continue to monitor the condition repairs. The GMC 3500 truck to replace Rescue 2 has been ordered through Capital City GMC. We have collected additional information and pricing for the fire department helmet replacements. Demo products are being sent. We expect to place an order in the near future with Fire Tech and Safety, a vendor which we use for other turnout gear products. Respectfully submitted, RJ Westmarch. Next item on the agenda. We've already done the food truck rental fee, I believe. Hire Alexander Tree Service to perform right-of-way cutting. So we need to have a motion, I believe. Sounds like it's been hard to find contractors to do this. So is there a motion?
So a motion to hire Alexander Tree Service to perform right-of-way clearance, right-of-way cutting on advice of Troy due to our normal person not being available.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion, more discussion on that motion?
Yeah, where are they out of? Do you know?
Anybody here? No?
Do you know where they're from, the Alexander Tree Service?
I assume that Troy has checked them out and is trusting.
What are you gonna do? He just told you there's no, the normal people aren't available.
I count it, thank you.
Well, I guess I'm mostly concerned that they have experience doing it. You're talking about the sides of the roads, right?
We're talking about power line clearing, right-of-way clearing. They have to be for tree service. They have to have experience. They're not gonna just.
And insurance and everything, it's probably big insurance.
You generally don't work for a municipality unless you have experience. Guess I could be wrong, but
Is there any more discussion on that motion?
So do we always, never get bids on stuff like this? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking.
To answer her question, I've been in business since 2011.
So in the past, have we had bids for this kind of thing? Because in the past year that I've been on, I haven't seen anything. And so I'm asking if anybody knows.
I think generally that our guys generally do the most of it, and this is some of the harder areas that they can't generally get to. That's my understanding of it, Scott. You might-
Yeah, and I would encourage the new trustees to look at the OSHA standards, especially for transmission line and utility workers for electric. If you did, you learn a lot. And not any tree service can come in with a clear power line. It has to be somebody who has the tree under the OSHA rules to do that type of work.
Yeah, I'm just asking if a bid has been put out in the past for this kind of thing. I mean, that's
Well,
all.
I don't think so, but
Okay.
it's extremely hard to find qualified right-of-way utility contractors, tree cutters, arborists, whatever you want to call them, to do this type of work.
Okay.
It's a
There's
small
also
amount.
no,
It's a
there's
what?
also no
Small
dollar
They're not
amount.
doing a great large amount. They're doing hard to get areas mostly.
Okay.
So is there a dollar
I
amount that
know
will
that.
pay them?
Sorry, Linda, what?
Is there a dollar amount that goes along with this? Isn't it unusual to hire somebody and not say for X amount of dollars?
Well,
Hold on, Will.
Steve,
Hold on, Will.
Well, sorry.
So Linda, there's a budgeted amount in the electric department budget for outside tree limit services. And I believe, if my memory serves, it's up to $35,000. So that would be the budget amount, anything above that.
And so
But we don't limit them to a certain amount
It's in the budget.
for
Yeah.
35,000?
That's
Up
that's
to,
what's
right?
budgeted for that.
Up to.
That's my memory, so I can't speak to that exclusively, but numbers correct, and yes, they're allowed up to $35,000 at the discretion of the foreman or the director of the department to spend up to that amount. It's been approved by the board and by the voters.
Any sound in there? Anyone speaking?
Well, I'm speaking.
Nope,
Off.
gotta
Can you
fix
hear
this.
me?
I gotta fix the sound.
So even if it's a line item, do we not put out a bid? All I want to know is if,
To answer your question, no, historically, there's not been, there's been a contractor that we worked with that does the work competitive to the market, and it's up to the board if they want to decide to try to put out the bid. But right now, my understanding is that you're not going to make a bid on it because the few contractors who are certified to bid this type of work are all out of business because they do not have employees to work. So my suggestion would be that we take this offer we got to get the work done that we needed to get done for well over a year. And do that, and then if you want to try to, in the future, try to make it a bidding policy, then I would work on that before the budget goes through, so that you can try to have that information at that time.
Thank you, that's a good suggestion. So we need a motion.
I made one.
You made. Is there a second?
Second.
Diane, all in favor?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. The next item is the village garage engineers report. Is there anyone here for engineering ventures? Sorry, I don't know your name. Paul. Oh, he's on.
Let me get
Zoom.
my sound running right.
Hi.
That setting.
Go ahead. Can you hear us?
There we go.
Hello?
Oh,
That's better. There we go. Took me
did
a
you
while to
get him?
find that.
Oh,
Hey.
Go ahead, Paul.
Oh yeah, hi. So yeah, Troy asked me to kind of sit in the call and kind of help you go through the estimate portion of our report or any questions you had on it. I mean, they're mostly square foot prices based on the size of the building, wall areas, foundation areas. The site stuff we did more of kind of almost like a V-Trans approach on using unit pricing. But I told Asher, and I would reiterate, we're really looking at these as kind of order of magnitude pricing so that they can be used for comparison. Prices are so volatile right now. I mean, the engineers and architects tend to have a little bit of a trouble being really accurate on these prices anyway. Right now, the market's crazy. So, hopefully you can use those to help you make a decision. And we did in our proposal, included a allowance for getting a professional estimator. So depending, where you go here, that probably would be a good step to take, especially right now, given again, the volatility of construction prices. They are crazy volatile right now. I mean, if anybody's bought a 2x4 or sheet of plywood, probably knows that.
Were they likely to get any better? I mean, I don't see why. Waiting
Yeah.
is. No, I mean, we need to do this.
Yeah. Yep. So there's a couple things. One is, so I think you might still be best off to get, well, I guess you could just bid it, right? But I guess it's part of the decision process. One of the things that I'm always, that we caution people about is, you're looking at, I know you're going to pay for this, but if you're going to do a long bond on it, just think about, will this building still be serving you, at the end of the bond, and make sure that you kind of at least think about that, so you're not continuing to pay for something that doesn't really suit you anymore. But basically, having looked at what we looked at, it looks to be more cost effective to clean up and reuse the structure than compared to building a new one. But again, you don't get to pick how this building functions for you, and so you just got to. That's something for the village to weigh. That's not something for us to really weigh out. I think if you wanted to, we talked about in phase 2 having our architect team member help you with the programming evaluation to see, just kind of talk about how it works for you. But I'm kind of jumping ahead, I think. You want to talk basically about the original estimate, or I don't know what specific questions there are over there.
So that $732,000, does that not include it talks about mold remediation work previously bid by the village has not been included herein.
Right. Yeah, we didn't specifically. I think there might be a little bit of overlap looking through it again, but generally speaking, we didn't include that that in this price.
And do you know how much that would be?
I don't remember what the numbers were offhand. I could pull those up, but I can try to locate those. But
okay, and then there's another part that says non-structural or non-building envelope-related interior renovations are not included as part of the remediation work.
yeah, so that would be if you're rebuilding or changing some of the interior partitions or the offices, things like that, which you could potentially do with your team members, or you may or may not need to be done. But we're just looking at it primarily from that from the shell improvements. So really what's been costed out here is the idea of basically stripping this thing down and putting in a new exterior envelope and a new roof, and then the associated improvements that go with that, which include some structural improvements, and then also including some roof improvements, right? So what happens is, for one, generally when you look at it under current codes, these buildings don't quite make it anymore, and secondly, along with that, you've got a structure that wasn't designed to carry as much snow load as you would have once you insulate it. So it's a different loading character to it. So, and then you kind of go down this train of improvements. Once you cross over a certain level of improvements, you trigger code improvements, which do require, again, the insulation upgrades and the envelope upgrades. So it's this kind of collection of things that build up together. I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, so sorry about that, but I was not quite sure, where, if you want me to run through this whole thing, or whether you want to talk about other specifics.
So just the timeline of this, is this something that, since you envision we could get started this fall, or is it, we're talking next building season?
Well, I think you don't have, the only permits you really have involved, I think, because there's really no agency of natural resources permits with this at this point. So I think you're looking at fire safety. So that should be, it's not something that I deal with that often. I know they've been a little slow, but I would think you could, but then it's getting somebody lined up to do the work too. And I don't know what that looks like, whether you have some locals that'd be interested in going after this work, or whether, it's not a tiny project. It's involved enough that it's kind of not a small company project necessarily. Plus, I mean, you're gonna have to, kind of relinquish occupying this building and using it for a while. So, and you'll want to get framed up and get it closed up for the winter. So, I think you could. We're not looking at concrete improvements, so you really could get into this building, and I think you don't have a lot of lead time that slows you from getting into it.
You're never gonna get anybody lined up to do this.
No,
Probably not, right?
Yeah, the construction.
Conflict of interest for you, right?
I ain't doing it. Straight up. No one works this village, you kidding me? No, I was joking either.
Yeah, it's not a tiny undertaking, right? I mean, I don't know who's speaking over there, but yeah, you really have to get into it. You have to have the equipment and get it there, and have enough crew that you can take it apart and do it in a timely and efficient manner, right?
So I think we just gotta pretty much go with what the report is and get it sent out, get some bids on it. Sooner we get some bids on it, the sooner they'll know what they're gonna be needing to get out for permits to fire and safety and whatnot, so.
Okay, all right. Then so that would, that in that case, you're gonna.
We
Yeah,
can kick it around all we want. We're not building on another site.
Yeah, no, that's.
We're rehabbing this building, whether
It could have
everybody
been a
likes
lot
it or
more
not.
expensive, right?
So I think we're gonna need to get it out to bid, because you're probably not gonna see it till next spring anyway. So then we might have to, I don't know, get into maybe some of the mold mitigation part and get some of that done up. I don't know, but we need to get a contractor in here that they'll let you know on mitigation part and everything all at once, where it's gonna roll that.
Yeah, I guess you have to just be a little careful with, if you try to do some of the mold mitigation up front, which I think you have to be careful that you don't then
I was more
rebuild
on
it.
scrubbing the air versus anything, so our guys can continue to use the building.
Yep. Good, that makes sense.
Paul, it also says on page 8,
Yep.
once a parcel is brought into Act 250 process, jurisdiction remains, but I think you recommend that we recheck that.
Yeah, so there's exceptions for that based on the amount of involved area. I think this one seems like a good case for not requiring a full Act 250 process, or even could be just at least a minor amendment, or probably administrative. But what we do is we reach out to the Act 250 district coordinator for a jurisdictional opinion.
Okay, and you do that?
We can, yep.
Okay,
I'll pay for it.
or do we have the office people do it? right
You
now?
can't, yeah, you can't actually. They just changed, and there's a, I think it's an online form now.
No, I'm not doing it.
I'm not asking.
I don't think that's a big thing. You can do it in house, or you can let me know later. We could probably do it. I don't think it's more than it's probably $300 or $400 or something if you want us to do it. I don't think it's a big thing.
Thank you.
Well, so you guys can authorize the expenditure of the money for the check or security.
So we need to make a motion to authorize.
Engineering Ventures to do a bid.
Oh, yeah,
Put out a
so,
bid?
oh, that, you will do the bid.
So you want us to do a bid process, and I mean, what we have here isn't really construction plans, so I guess it depends on how you want to structure this. I mean,
Not sure.
yeah, so what you have here is these are conceptual. So I think if you really want to, if you want to actually bid something, you probably have to bid something tighter. Otherwise, you'd have to it's a really wide open contract, which is a little hard to manage. And I may have made that confusing in terms of the timeline, because we don't really have, we don't have construction level plans here, so we can do that, and that's work.
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time.
that last sentence that you said, I wasn't clear.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just saying, I may have been a little unclear earlier when you talked about timing, but we don't. These aren't construction plans, so we have. I guess it would depend on how you wanted to put this out to bid, but the problem with having a really low level of detail in plans is you really have a wide open contract when you bid it, which is hard to do, especially on a municipal project.
We
I
need
think
to
you
have blueprints and specs, you're saying?
Yeah, I think you need more than that. Yep.
So we need to hire someone to do that.
Yep.
First, correct?
Yeah, I think you do. Yeah. Yep. And we could do that, and we could do that with Asher. But you're a municipality. I don't know if you want to bid that process as well. I can give you a proposal to do that work.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, I can get you a proposal to do that work. But and if you feel like you need to bid that, then that's okay too. I know you have a duty as trustees.
Yeah, we would like to have that proposal.
Okay. Yep.
Well,
Do you intend to put that portion out to bid, or are you just going to go with this proposal?
I'm not sure how we can. So can you give us a bid on doing that? And then we'll see if we can get a second bid and make a decision then.
Okay. Yep, I can do that. And it sounds like you want to move as quickly as you can. So let me see what I can do to pull together a proposal for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? Well, thank you, Paul, for coming, and we'll be in touch with you.
Okay. Very good. I'll talk to you and get you a proposal. I'm not sure exactly the timing. I don't think I can pull it off this week, but I know you're anxious to move forward.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Very good.
Thank you.
All right, now we have the letter from the Vermont Labor Relations Board.
I think before we do that, Steve, I'd like to read the notes the guys sent us about the correction to the minutes in newspaper. This is from Chan, Jeff, and Nate, the line crew for the Village of Johnson. Feel that there are a few things that need to be clarified as inconsistencies. This is in reference to the March 31st article published in the News and Citizen. Paul is not the only first-class lineman. Nate and Troy are also first class. All rates of pay are achieved by CBA collective bargaining agreement. Troy being the highest, Nate being the second highest, as he was lead lineman at the time of the printed article. Paul being third highest under Troy and Nate. Chan and Jeff are paid the same, as both are same steps of apprentices. This makes them the lowest paid. Perhaps reporter Aaron Calvin should have done his research prior to writing this article. Nate, who has been employed by the Village of Johnson for 24 years as of January 5th, is also first class. Nate received his first class certification in 2006, state of Vermont. While he was employed at Johnson Village, Nate was made lead lineman in 2015. In this role, Nate continued to earn the respect of the coworkers and ratepayers, customers, and community members, as well as broaden his knowledge of the operations of the village utilities, multi-phase village utilities. Nate's knowledge in years of the service to Johnson made him an excellent and logical choice for this role. This role meant that whenever the foreman, Troy Dolan, was not on site, Nate was in charge of the crew, jobs, and the jobs at hand. Troy Dolan also is first class. He received first class while working for Vermont Electric Co-op in June of 2001. Troy was hired as full-time in February 2014 and is first class by the Village of Johnson, meaning his first class status was received 13 years prior to being hired by the Village of Johnson. Troy became a foreman in January 2015. In this role, as in all hired by the Johnson Village, Troy became in this role. As in all areas, Troy handled himself professionally, courteously, respectful at all times. Never has any dysfunction been tolerated or encouraged in the way by Troy. Troy operates professionally, earns trust from coworkers, ratepayers, and community members. Jan Bullard and Jeff Parsons are currently second class A line workers, one step away from first class. We are currently accruing and logging hours with on-job training and documenting with the state of Vermont. In our path to achieve our first class certifications, allowing us to even better serve our community. As for alleged 5 years of harassment, there was never any investigation made to confirm any of this. Not only are there any documented or undocumented disciplinary actions of any kind, there was no disciplinary action regarding any form of harassment from any employee in any direction. In fact, we all go out of our way to not only help each other, but also to accept any differences, as a safe and healthy workplace is important. We all have covered for each other when time off was needed for personal reasons. By covered, I mean pitched in and made sure that all the day's jobs were completed timely and professionally, even when shorthanded. We have strengths and weaknesses. We all are better at some things than others. There have not been any slurs used to attack anyone's intelligence, no stepping up pressure to force a hand or action of anyone on our crew. Certain jobs have a time frame that they need to be completed in, and there has been conversations regarding this. We also, on occasion, help the loved ones of the crew members surprised at their personal anniversaries, birthday parties, graduations, birth of children, grandchildren, and such. And provide care and concern and backing of time off when loved ones have passed. There was also an incident where the village did not have bereavement pay in its policy, and the efforts were made to help that. Paul, when his father passed away, in addition to this, the entire crew put together a donation of cash to help Paul and his family. These things are accomplished because of the care and the professionalism with the crew and the members. There was most definitely never been any vandalism of anyone's belongings at work or anywhere else. In regards to the speed of Paul's plowing the sidewalk, or revert back to certain jobs have a certain time frame need to be completed in. Also, the village work policy is that we do not plow driveways. We plow straight across them in several in severe snow conditions. And on few occasions, we have helped someone that could not get through the plowed ridge caused by normal plowing policy. In reference to a line in the March 31st article at New Citizen, village trustees should have justified their removal as to Paul by attempting to prove that Bullard was the more qualified lineman, but it did not appear at the arbitration hearing. The arbitration hearing, and the village did not provide evaluations of Bullard's performance. None of the crew members were invited to the arbitration, meaning Nate Brigham, Chan Bullard, Jeff Parsons. The Village of Johnson workforce continuously strives for excellence. We aim at providing strong and dependable service to our ratepayers and taxpayers, be it maintaining the flow of power, water, sewer, or cleaning the sidewalks or any other avenue of the job title. Again, this is from our crew. Three of them, Chan, Jeff, and Nate.
Thank you, Kenny. So that'll be entered into the minutes, correct?
I'll give it to you.
Yes, you can give me.
Sorry.
Now I'm going to read this complaint from the Vermont Labor Relations Board. Vermont Labor Relations Board unfair labor practice charge. Description: employees, unions, and employers may file a charge with the board alleging that an employee, organization, or employer has committed an unfair labor practice as specified in provisions of each of the acts administered by the board. Instructions, well, just skip that. The full name and address of the employee or organization or employer making the charge, Troy Dolan, and his address. The full names and addresses of the employee, organization, or its agents, or employer, or its agents against whom the charge is made, Diane Lehouiller. State the applicable section of the act which are alleged to be violated. The following sections were violated. The first one is unfair labor practices. It shall be unfair labor practice for an employer to, one, interfere with, restrain, or coerce employees in the exercise of their rights guaranteed by this chapter or any other law rule, or regulation. And the second one is VSA 1503, rights of employees' mutual duty to bargain. Employees shall have the right to self-organization, to form, join, or assist labor organizations, or to bargain collectively through representatives of their own choice, and to engage in concerted activities for the purpose of collective bargaining or other mutual aid or protection, and shall also have the right to refrain from any or all such activities except to the extent that such right may be affected by an agreement requiring membership in a labor organization as a condition of employment as authorized in subsection 1621A of this title. An employee who exercises the right not to join the labor organization representing the employee's certified unit pursuant to section 1581 of this title shall, subject to subsection B of this section, pay the agency fee to the representative of the bargaining unit in the same manner as employees who pay membership fees to the representative. The labor organization agrees to indemnify and hold the employer harmless from any and all claims stemming from the implementation or administration of the agency fee. 4, provide a brief statement of facts concerning the alleged violations. If this space is insufficient, continue the statement of facts on a separate sheet of paper and attach it. The Village of Johnson unionized employees, IBEW Local 300, were invited to the February 23rd, 2022 Village Trustee Board meeting to speak about their feelings regarding the return to work of another member of the bargaining unit. Employees speaking about their concerns regarding working conditions and safety is a protected, concerted activity. At that meeting, one of the village trustees, Diane Lehouiller, made copies and distributed to the public an arbitration award document related to an arbitration between the village and a member of the bargaining unit that occurred in January 2022. The arbitration award document was not a public document and should not have been distributed to the public. During the February 23rd, 2022 trustee meeting, members of the public referenced the arbitration award document that had been distributed by Trustee Lehouiller and used its contents to make comments that the unionized employees felt were derogatory and inaccurate. The unionized employees present felt intimidated and attacked while they were attempting to exercise their statutory right to speak about their working conditions and safety. The unionized employees who felt intimidated by Trustee Lehoulier's actions were Troy Dolan, Nate Brigham, Jeff Parsons, and Shan Bullock. These employees feel Trustee Lehouiller took these actions intentionally to interfere with their right to express their workplace safety concerns, workplace condition and safety concerns. Indicate the remedy requested. Public acknowledgement of the inappropriate behavior and violation of employee rights, as well as a public apology to the affected employees and an explanation of the reasons why she distributed the arbitration document. I declare that I have read the above charge and that the statements therein are true to the best of my knowledge. Signed, Troy Dolan, with a notary public. Well, Diane, I guess the floor is yours if you want to respond.
Yeah, I did write up a statement and I'd like to read it. I received a copy of the arbitration award and other communications between the union and our manager on a Saturday before our trustee meeting. I read it, and I was shocked to read the information I had in my possession. It was the first time I had heard or read about what was possibly going on at the department. The report, which is a write-up of a hearing that had taken place with a neutral arbitrator to hear both sides of the story. In that report, I learned some things that were disturbing to me. From the materials I was given, I learned an investigation should have taken place and that due process for all parties was not followed. Knowing very few facts and working in the dark makes it impossible or nearly impossible to make good decisions. Therefore, I was pushing for an investigation to obtain more information. I have talked about repairing relationships as a beginning to help remedy the tension and negative feelings that were evident in the department. The secrecy surrounding what was going on creates a situation where misinformation becomes rampant within the community. Apparently, small steps have led to some improvements within the department. I'm hoping to contribute to a more open healing process so we can get back to a smoothly running department, which is what we all want. Paul gave me permission to give out the report. I only gave it to Kyle. Dawn read it with me. Information about this report has already been cited in the News and Citizen. On specifics, I did not make copies during the meeting. No one at the meeting spoke in a manner to intimidate workers. I watched the video. I did not interfere with workers' rights to express their workplace condition and safety concerns, nor did I restrain or coerce any employee in the exercise of their rights guaranteed by law.
Are there any other trustees who would like to make a comment?
Diane, you did that under or disregarding advice from counsel that you shouldn't have shared that information. So you immediately put the village in a liability. Not understanding if you've ever been an employer before, but there's employer confidentiality stuff. And you violated that because the lawyer told you straight up, straightforward. You, as a trustee, cannot hand that out. Doesn't matter if anybody else gets it, because we're involved in that situation. You caused a lot of troubles with that. Your statement is inaccurate. You said that that was in the newspaper. That was not in the newspaper till after this happened. So I think you need to resign before you get to town or the village sued.
Oh, give me a break. Could I make a comment?
Yes, you may.
So, I don't know a whole lot about this. I just know bits and pieces. But didn't she get permission from Paul? And Paul, is Paul?
Absolutely
I'm
not.
confused by all this. So is Paul an employee, right? And that's what all this is all about. Right, Ken?
Yep.
So if Paul gave that to her to hand out or to get to show anybody, and she didn't show anybody.
She cannot do that by the letter of the law because she is an employer, just like the other 5 trustees that were, or 4 trustees that were sitting there. Under council advice to not share it, she took it upon herself, only herself, to share that. There was several comments made about Diane, this should not be done. Not only once, but twice by the lawyer. And
Was that when was the lawyer at that
I
hearing
believe
or
your
meeting?
timing is not correct on that. After the attorney, Brian Moynihan.
I think you need to go watch it again because she went to hand it and he said that you should not do that. Then she handed it away. Then we went in executive session and he explained to her 3 times in front of all of us that she should not underhand out anything. It didn't matter how anybody else got it. It mattered how she handed it out as an employer. That's what it come down to.
Well,
And if you want to go back and read the minutes, you'll see that, because I did.
no, I know he said it in the meeting. But the thing about this whole thing is we are here right now.
Because you handed out information you weren't supposed to hand out, Diane. That's
You
what.
need to let me speak, please.
You're throwing out a bunch of mash, is what you're throwing out. You did what you should have
Diane has
done.
the floor.
And the state of Vermont has sent a letter to you and to all of us telling us that you were wrong.
Diane has the floor.
So you should resign before you get the damn village sued more.
I would like to know when that paper was given to Kyle.
At the February 23rd meeting, I believe.
Was that before or was that after the lawyer talked?
It was at that meeting. I believe it was at that meeting, Linda.
And before executive session or after executive session?
It was in the open
It was
meeting
in the open meeting.
and it was also in the executive session.
After I had handed it out. And I felt because of the lack of facts that we weren't given along the way to make smarter decisions, I felt the whole department was getting broken up and no one was investigating. No one was doing fact finding. It just didn't make sense. We were making decisions that just didn't make sense to me.
That you're the only one, apparently.
No, she's not.
That's not true. After we received the arbitration report and the back and forth emails from people and letters, we were finding out that an investigation should have happened. It never happened. Paul's due process was not, we didn't
He was
allow
violated.
that. Yeah, he was violated. And we only heard, he never came and spoke his side. And so we were making decisions, hearing only one side. They all belonged to our village. And yes, he has admitted he said what he said, but we needed to do more and to find out and get to the bottom of it and then make it right. And
So
You have, in this country, you have the right to defend yourself when you were accused of something, I believe.
you absolutely do, and he went through that process.
No.
Yes, he did. I don't know where you were, but he won the arbitration seat. He went through the process, and we had a trustee hand out information that she should not, and she put me and you and everybody else at liability for it.
I was at meetings where I was asked to make disciplines on Paul without having all of the knowledge. We were kept in the dark.
Hey, Steve. You were a trustee before I was. I come into this job at the start of all this, when it was going on hot and heavy. How the hell can I have the information and you not?
I don't.
I was in the meetings.
They weren't.
I was in the same meeting
no.
with you, Steve.
No.
Yes, we were.
That knew about
we were
this,
part of the arbitration.
The only people that knew about this were Will and Troy.
No, you and me and BJ did part of the damn arbitration with a lawyer and the union lawyer.
That is true. Yes, based on what we were told by Will and Troy.
We were listening to his lawyers?
No.
Our lawyer?
It was all kept from us. I'm sorry.
Hey, Steve.
You need to read the stuff that was in front of you because it was not kept from us. We sat right there and listened to his lawyer talk for an hour.
Stop.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, can I speak, please?
I'm not sure you're saying that, but I do have the floor. What I would love everybody to do is just take a big breath for a couple of seconds.
Thank you.
What I
Hey. Hey, Steve.
What I'm hearing is a lot of conversation that is not specific to the issue. You know, it sucks not to have all the information you need to make a decision. I get that. But that's an internal process for the trustees. You and perhaps the Vermont Ocean Program, when we're talking about a subject matter like this, right? You don't know the conversation, you don't have all the facts that you need. That's an internal discussion. It involves personnel. That's executive session. I think we're missing the point of the letter. That information is put out in the public. That's not okay. Don't do that in the HR world. Don't hand out employee information when there's a discrepancy, whether it's workplace violence or any other safety and health issue. That information is not released. It's kept in-house. It's certainly not given to a member of the public.
BJ, would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, please. I definitely know, after the whole thing, me and you actually talked about it, too. I know how Diane, felt that she wasn't given all the information. I think what it just comes down to isn't really how anybody felt with it. I think it comes down to it wasn't our right, no matter how we personally felt, to give that information out when it dealt with other guys, because as soon as that information came out, it put us on the side of Paul and against the other guys. And that's how I feel on it. By any of us giving it out, it made it look like, okay, the trustees gave it out, so the trustees believe this is what's happening and we're on Paul's side. We didn't really stay neutral at that point. That's it.
Finish where I left off.
Oh, sorry.
I guess what I'm asking is, you know, let's clear this up. And I think we've all learned from this process. Things go on in executive session, stay in executive session. When we have an employee-employer issue, that's covered under executive session. That's dealt with by you folks. If you don't have enough information to make up your mind or included in a general conversation that involves something like this, we put ourselves on pause and go back and try to get the information that's rational to us to make a sound decision, right? Does everybody agree on that one? Hopefully, I really hope we do.
We weren't able to.
I realize that, but that ability to not get what you're looking for, you don't release information to the public. And that's where I'm having a really hard time understanding this. Working for the state of Vermont as a director and as a program manager, that stuff was never released to anybody. If I had an employee that you can release it, that doesn't mean anything. That employee doesn't supersede state, local, and county, and federal law. It's a human being. They don't have that ability. They don't give you direction on how you act as a trustee. If they want to release the information, great, go at it, publish it. But it shouldn't come from the trustees because it's an HR issue.
How would you suggest this? We were making decisions, really important decisions on a person's life.
Exactly.
And how would you suggest we would have gotten that information?
Not from delivering a piece of paper blessed by the employee to release it to the public. That is not okay. It's not, I don't think it's legal. For my training,
Well,
for 30 years, so Steve, just let me finish. If you don't have the information you're seeking, then you don't vote on it. You don't comment on it. You go back and you try to figure out what you need to make a proper decision. You don't reach out to the public with a piece of paper. So I guess what I'm hoping for is everybody learns from this situation and we don't make this mistake again, because it does put us in legal liability. Village doesn't have a lot of fast cash sitting out. So I guess what I'm asking for is maybe some retraining or open meeting law on issues. And, you know, I've been harassed about this and told about this in my tenure as a trustee. Let's move on. And Diane, I'm pleading with you. I totally get the frustration for not knowing everything you need to know. But let's move on. I think not having a letter, it sounds like you're just asking for an apology. Do the apology, get the training, and the next time the folks are stuck in a bucket where you don't have the information you need, that you resolve it in-house with the village lawyer, the union, and the OSHA program in the state of Vermont does have a consultation program that will give you assistance on whatever safety and health topic you have, free of charge. And that's the last point. It's not the union, it's not the employee, it's the state of Vermont who holds us liable for all of this in the state. Let's, you know, we have a brand new, almost trustee board yet again. Let's try to calm down a little bit, really appreciate each other, and just move on. Give the apology if you can. It's not the discussion of, I didn't know what I was left out. It's that you released information. That was a bad thing to do. Even if the person said, you can release it, that doesn't supersede state law.
Thank you.
So I'm pleading with you to try to heal this wound before it gets out there.
Well, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify a couple of things like that, and then give a suggestion. The arbitration was not about a discipline component. It was about the reduction of force. So that there are two separate topics which you guys have seen listening to it. It sounds like you guys are mixed. So if you want to talk about the discipline issues and not having enough information you felt for the attempt at the discipline, that's one thing. The arbitration is about reduction of force, which has nothing to do with an action. We all voted on it. It was unanimous to move forward with the reduction of force. The union came at us with that. They won the arbitration, calls back at work. So when you're speaking to people who don't know what's going on, if you guys could define those two areas, I think it'd be a whole lot less confusing to everybody when it's very easy to get mixed up. But define those two areas of time, those two actions. It's very confusing seeing when you're listening and trying to understand what you're talking about, and you're not making decisions for those two actions. The other item I want to speak to is that I would agree with Mr. Myers about the solution to this is going to be an apology. And the apology would be that even though in your mind you're justified, and that if you had done it outside of sitting, literally physically sitting at the trustee meeting, distributing an article or an item that was previously told to everybody that was personnel documents. I think if you apologize for that action, which was an illegal action, that's reasonable to request from you. If you had done it outside of the meeting, I don't think we'd be in this situation. The alternative is that to file a rebuttal to this for the state, for the lawyers, is going to be at least a $3,000 fee. goes before a hearing, it's gonna reach an excess of $5,000. I understand you wanting to hold the ground, but if you just separate the emotion from the facts, that you have done it during a meeting, which is wrong, and you can apologize for that action, instead of bringing on the ratepayers and the taxpayers in order to defend an action that you should have done. I, as a taxpayer would, and a ratepayer, I think that's a smarter route to go. And to the board, I will suggest that you not authorize a lawyer to defend Diane in this case when the solution is so.
The problem with this, well, part of it is that you can't just separate that one piece. The Diane's action, it's all part of a bigger picture. And there were so many, we believe, some mistakes and injustices committed along the way, that to just pick out this one piece of it and focus on that prevents prevents justice and healing from happening. And I think that's what our goal is, to just be able to heal and move on from this, and put some policies in place so that it doesn't happen again. And I think we all pretty clearly understand why it happened, but I'm not sure that it's not still happening. That's part of the problem I have. So
Jack, can respond to your comment.
Sure.
I think that your last comment saying it's still happening, some of that is lowering the lines. It needs to be more distinct. This document makes it very distinct. It doesn't play into.
What are you holding up there?
The document is one you just read.
Oh.
The document from the state. It's very clear, it's very defined. It's an action. Okay. So no matter how she got there, she needs to be responsible for the action that she took. You know, I mean, when you break the law, they don't care about how you got there. The only thing that matters is the action. And the solution is an apology for that action. And you talk about healing and moving forward, stuff like that. I will guarantee you 100% that if this board chooses to spend 3 to 5 or excess of that thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money, and that shouldn't happen, you're going to see more people here. I'll make sure.
Thank you. I'm going to address you, Steve, as the chair. The only apology, in my opinion, that needs to happen right here, right now, is the violent words and actions of Trustee Tourangeau at Trustee Diane Lehouiller when he was speaking to her a few months ago. That is completely unacceptable behavior. That's the only apology that I think is appropriate. Second, at that meeting, I walked in a few minutes late. The meeting was well underway. I did not know what was happening. I said, I'm not sure what's happening here. Can I be caught up, please? Will was not giving a very clear explanation what was happening. So Trustee Diane Lehouiller stepped in and said, we're talking about arbitration. And basically that's all she said. I said, is this a public document? She looked at the chair at the time, it was Will Jennison. Will said, I don't have a copy. Rosemary, do you have a copy? Rosemary said, I don't have a copy. Diane said, I have a copy. Can I give it to her? Will said, yes. And this is all on videotape. Nobody objected. And Tourangeau didn't object. BJ didn't object. The lawyer didn't object. Troy, Meredith, you, Steve, Rosemary, nobody said she could not hand it over. She did ask permission. She got consent from the entire board. She handed it to me. And then you all went into executive session and I don't know what happened then. So the fact that he is being pinpointed and targeted as the one that did all this illegal action and should be giving apologies and is absolute nonsense. It's the entire board that gave consent for her to give that piece of information.
You are 100% wrong. I did not give consent that
By
day.
not, excuse me, excuse me,
BJ,
by nobody objecting and saying, no, you cannot, that is consent.
In what world?
Oh my gosh.
Why is this?
are you done? Or you still have more you want to say?
So I can go back and look at the video, that is fact.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Shane.
Thank you. I'm worried that we're getting distracted from the issue at hand, and I think Scott tried to bring us back to it, and we've gotten re-distracted again. The issue that was on the agenda is specifically dealing with the complaint from the Labor Relations Board. It's not why that complaint was filed. It's not whether the arbitration was done correctly. It's not whether there should have been an investigation. It is about the complaint that was filed. I think all of the conversation so far has been diverting from that. And while I can certainly understand why there might be a desire to have more information when making decisions like this, when you are given the results of an arbitration like this, that's privileged information, and it's not to be made available willy-nilly. I wasn't at the meeting. I haven't watched all the video, so I can't say whether the board gave implied consent or not. All I know is that as someone who has employed people before, I know that I cannot hand out their schedules, much less the results of any sort of privileged arbitration that were to happen between employees. So I think an apology is pretty light, to be honest. And in order to protect the town or the village from legal action that could happen otherwise, I think it's the obvious step to make. Thank you.
Hey, Steve, can I speak?
BJ, yeah?
Yeah, I just want to go back on the implied consent on my end. My end, if I remember right, we just found out at that meeting a few minutes before that these even existed. So we really didn't even know what we had. They hadn't gone through it. So the fact that Diane went to hand it out was totally her choice. But the fact that we didn't say nothing is implied consent. That's ludicrous. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to say anything more, Diane? And then I think we're going to close this because I think Diane needs to make a decision about what she wants to do. And I think that we've had enough input on this. So do you want to say anything more before?
What I would like to do is to move forward. And this is how I would like to move forward. Because this is what needs to happen. We need to meet with the crew. We need to meet with a mediator. And we need to figure out a good, positive way to settle the problem that's going on. That is the biggest problem. I want to make the crew work. I voted to have Nate be the foreman and work with him and have all the crew work together. That's what I would like to see. That's what I would like to see.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is a possible executive session for personnel matter pursuant to 1 VSA 313A14. I don't know who put this on the agenda. Did you, Kenny?
No.
I did. So I don't know if you resign from the board or if do you want to go through with this executive session right now, Will, or what do you want to do about it? Okay. Is there a motion? Is there a motion to go into executive session?
I make some motion. I don't have my paper. I motion to go into executive session for a personal matter.
VSA.
Motion to go in executive session for personal matter pursuant to one VSA 313A14. Ken, Steve, Diane, Rosemary, and Will Jennison.
Is there a second?
And Linda,
Did you
I
second?
said,
that,
and Linda.
And Linda.
Pardon?
I said, and Linda.
Oh, sorry, and Linda.
Oh. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Roll call vote. Diane,
no,
Ken,
Yes.
Linda.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. That passes 3 to 1. So we're going to go into executive session. So we have to cut the cameras and ask you all to go outside. So we've come out of executive session.
thank you, Will.
We have not taken any action. This meeting is still open, however, and we need a motion to advertise Will Jennings' position as a vacancy for the board. If there's any interested village residents that are interested in sending a letter of interest for that position.
How long would you like? What would you like in letters of intent by?
It's
When were we meeting, Dan?
when's the next meeting? May. By May 9th. That's like about 3 weeks from now, I think.
You don't wait that long.
Pardon?
You want to wait that long?
You have
We
the
don't
meeting
need-
May 3rd.
We don't need a meeting.
Oh, we already have to come here on May 3rd to meet with Dan.
Right.
So,
That would be too much for one meeting.
I don't know how long that's gonna take with Dan.
It's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
He said it's gonna take a long time.
Okay.
Well, unless we all just say, yeah, spend it, and get a bond.
Well, I mean, I would think Dan would know kind of, right? How much time? He did ask for a while, but
He said it was gonna take a while, like
Yeah.
67 pages to the
Yeah.
report.
yeah.
Uh,
So.
2
Will-
weeks from now is the 26th, Tuesday.
No, we don't need to have a meeting to have an end date for these. This is just
Oh,
getting-
for the applications to
That's
to come
right.
in.
It's just getting anybody
Okay.
interested.
Well, let's say by, I don't know, what do you suggest?
2 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay.
It's plenty.
So by the, will it be in tomorrow's, Rosemary, or will it be in Wednesdays?
I'll put it on front porch forum tomorrow,
Okay,
hopefully before the.
so then let's say, the 26th of April. That's 2 weeks from tomorrow.
And decide if that's one of the meeting or. move to the regular meeting.
Right,
Okay.
So it's the 26th.
correct. When are you coming back, Linda?
I don't know. I'm having second thoughts. The
Are we
27th.
done? I'm starved. I haven't been home.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do the motion right now.
And is there a motion to adjourn?
Well, don't you need to make this
Oh.
motion?
No, we just need to set a date, right, Rosemary?
Oh,
Yeah,
Just to authorize me to
yeah.
yeah.
advertise the position.
So is the meeting on the 26th or is that the deadline for application?
The
The
deadline.
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 Is
Okay.
there a motion to
Perfect.
adjourn?
Yes.
Second,
Second.
the meeting is all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, then.
Good night, everybody.